What's up, guys, and welcome back to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. My name is Alex, and today we're going to be doing a spoiler-free review of a new movie from Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead called Something in the Dirt. Let's get into it. So if you guys have been following me for some time in the podcast or on the YouTube or even on the website, you'll know that I'm a pretty big fan of Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead's work. They've done a lot of different movies, one that started with Resolution for me and then ended up in a rabbit hole of watching every single one of their films as they've gone on. I've literally bought everything that they have because there's something about them that is very ingenious about them. They will take a concept and a mystery and sci-fi elements and just jam it into this movie idea. If you've ever seen the movie Resolution, it is a very low budget film that basically does a lot with storytelling and sort of this mystery of this thing that's going on while these two guys are trying to figure out their life and help one another out, their flaws and everything. And I feel like this movie has kind of gone back to those roots in a way because they have been progressively building on some of their portfolio as they go on. In fact, they have worked on Moon Knight, Twilight Zone, Loki, and of course their last movie was Synchronic, which, you know, they've been progressively getting to be more and more like really amazing looking stuff here. Now this one is a little bit more back to roots, like back to the basics, because I have a feeling that this is, from what I gather in some of the interviews I was watching, is that this was their sort of pandemic movie, kind of movie that they put together in their own house or their own apartments together into a cohesive film, or so we think, because there is a lot going on here, guys. I'll read you the synopsis. When neighbors John and Levi witness a supernatural event in one of their apartments, they decide to team up together to document this experience because their lives have been less than fruitful. They feel that making a documentary about this sort of paranormal event could help inject some actual interest into their lives, some fame, some fortune, some money, some purpose. And as they continue to film this documentary, they start to get wound up into a deeper, darker rabbit hole of mind-bending, metaphysical, mind-altering, pretty atmospheric stuff. Now, Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead have said that they didn't really know that there's anything like this, and I hate to shatter that in some ways because while I was watching this, and this is a compliment by a lot, I remember watching the movie Pi. My first experience watching Pi was kind of mind-bending. It felt like I was on the verge of finding out something about the universe and like what exists, and it was pretty mind-bending, kind of a movie that just puts you on this sort of mental, spiritual, sort of atmospheric and suspenseful sort of ride. And that's what kind of you're going to get with this movie, is a very condensed, not in black and white like Pi, but a very condensed, smaller indie film with essentially just two characters in the movie, which is John and Levi, played by Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. John being Aaron Moorhead, Justin Benson being the long-haired Levi. Now, these guys have no idea who they are. They just meet each other in this movie at the beginning of the movie through a weird happenstance. They happen to wake up, and that seems to be a theme in this movie. There's a lot of coincidences that are tied to this sort of supernatural, metaphysical kind of world, and that's something that these guys are fucking fantastic at. Let me tell you. They can take a small idea and turn it into one of the most interesting, fucking like mind-bending, mind-altering, metaphysical stories, and it's just insane what they'll do with it. Now, this one has a little bit of a sort of a dark comedy to it that I think some people might miss if you're not really kind of paying attention, especially if you're wrapped up in sort of the atmosphere of this movie, because there is this sort of building tension that's going on while they're witnessing all these different events and sort of piecing everything together. Now, there is not going to be some answers to everything here. This is definitely a movie you could watch multiple times and warrant new things, new Easter eggs, which there are some, they have built this sort of like universe in their own small, independent, small like movie making world, which I've always admired. I've loved in Resolution and The Endless, and those two really connect together in a bigger way, I think, than any of the other movies. But there are hints of other stuff in this movie. I won't say what it is. Just know that, of course, they're going to put that in there because that's how they are. They're funny guys that like to make weird, really thoughtful, kind of weird, fucked up movies. That's about the best way I can describe it. They just like weird shit. and it's not going to resonate with everybody to the point of like, elation, and someone's going to be like blown over the moon with their work. But I think if you can kind of understand that they're taking something from nothing and building this really supernatural, mysterious, metaphysical sort of storytelling in two characters, it's pretty genius. That's not easy for everybody to do as a filmmaker, and I think they pull it off here. I think it's kind of funny. I think I wasn't my favorite movie of the year necessarily, but it is something that I'm going to have to rewatch. I'm definitely going to be buying this when I can pick it up on Blu-ray. I wonder if they'll have the squirrel in the movie doing a behind-the-scenes commentary track, because on their Resolution commentary, they have a dog barking the whole time in the background, and like one of them is having a conversation with the dog. Which is just the weirdest shit ever, but nobody's ever done that. That's probably one of the weirdest, I listened to the whole thing, and even they were fucking surprised when I wrote them about it on Twitter. But that's just the type of movie makers these guys are. Now, I wouldn't compare this movie to a lot of their other movies, other than the fact that you're going to get a big, heavy dose of that sci-fi, metaphysical, and that it is connected to some of their movies in a couple of different ways. I don't want to say what it is, but you'll get it when you see it. If you've seen their other films, they're not closely connected, they're just loosely connected, and you'll pick up on those as the story unfolds. But yeah, you're gonna have to lower your expectations on this one. This is not a big budget one. This is their pandemic movie, like I said, and I think that's perfectly fine, because at the end of the movie, it's like this is dedicated to making movies with friends, and that's probably the most apropos way of saying what they did here, while not trying to take completely away from the actual ingenuity that they do here, because there is some really thrilling and kind of disgusting and messed up parts in this movie, and there is some really kind of dark dialogue to one another, because these people do not necessarily like each other, and they're actually kind of best friends in real life, obviously, if they're making movies together as a team. So if you are a fan of their work, I think it's pretty safe to say that you will enjoy this. Now, is it going to be better than The Endless? Is it going to be better than Resolution? I mean, all of these films, Synchronic is a completely different movie than those other ones, and Spring is a completely different film than those other ones. But I think you'll see the magic in some of what they're trying to do here, and maybe even some of the comedy that they try to put into this, because seeing them act together is just pretty cool. I thought it was a really good idea what they came up with, without really spoiling anything, because I have no idea what exactly is going on with these two guys. Let's just say it's supernatural, it's weird, and they like weird shit. So I hope that's a good review of the movie. It doesn't really express anything. Well, it is a spoiler-free review, but I think if you lower your expectations, this isn't going to be a big budget film, kind of on the slope that they were going with, Synchronic, which I think was probably their biggest budget film that they've made to date, other than, like Loki and obviously, the other stuff that they've been working on. But this is on their own films. I think Synchronic was one of the bigger ones. This is a little bit more back to basics. I wouldn't be surprised if they spent less money on this movie than they did their first movie, Resolution. But there's effects in it. They're practical. There are also CGI effects and everything that they're really good at in this, and still get you to that level. But it isn't going to be like, just taper your expectations down a little bit. Go for the ride. Enjoy that two guys decided to make a movie in their own fucking apartment and see what they came up with. It's weird. It's kind of funny, and I think you will like it. I would probably give this movie like a 7, maybe a 7.5, but it's kind of on the fence there, and I am kind of a big fanboy, I guess, of their work, so, it could be lower for other people because, they're not knowing what to expect going into this, but it is sort of a slow, atmospheric, dark, comedic, metaphysical thriller ride with sci-fi. Yeah. Anyway, if you're a fan, are you going to see this? I'm sure you will. I'm sure if you heard me say Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson, that you were like, yep, I'm going to watch that instantly, because they're building quite the fan base these days. And I hope it's everything that you enjoy. Now, it's out on rent right now. I rented it for $6.99 on the Microsoft store. I think it was also $6.99 on Amazon. So if you want to rent it, you can right now. I think you can even pre-order it to own for like $15. I'm going to wait till they put it out on Blu-ray or whatever. They played this at the festivals. This is one of the movies that I was trying to get a hold of for the Toronto International Film Festival, but I wasn't able to get there. But I am finally seeing it now, and it is out now for you guys to check out. I'm going to have this up tomorrow-ish. Well, you won't even know, but I'll have it up as soon as I possibly can. But thanks for stopping by, and as always, long live the voice.